everybody's having trouble with lately. But I guess they paid for the house or didn't have a mortgage or something. I don't know. That's my story.
I was born in Brooklyn in June 8, 1927. My father was an unemployed cab driver. I was the oldest of three. And we were coming along at that time when people were, it was called, just before the Depression. See, we had no problem with the crash because we had nothing to crash with. But the family, my father was this bus driver. Later, he started out as a cab driver, and there was nobody taking cabs in 1927 for the first couple of years. And so he found himself many times, I was the oldest of three, going to vaudeville shows. And because he loved vaudeville. He also was a bit of a comedian himself. He played the saxophone in the bathroom because my mother couldn't handle it. And anyway, at the vaudeville shows, if the comedian was not funny, he'd scream out, "Faker! Faker!" And I'm sitting there, I'm a 4-year-old kid, and I'm listening to all this stuff going on. And then, as I grew up, we had family meetings. My parents, my mother came from Poland, a little town called Frampel, where Isaac Bashevis singer wrote stories about. And my father came from Austria, his family. So at these family meetings, my father would, at one point, disappear into the bedroom and come out with my cousin Petey's fur coat, put on her hat and flower in his mouth, and he'd do Carmen. And my mother said, the man has no work and he's doing Carmen.
With, I want to ask Ann also, was your family, as an only child, were you funny early or funny in your head without people?
I don't think so, but then, of course, my father didn't do anything in drag, so I didn't, you know.
Everybody just wore their own clothes.
Yes. No, his father, Willie, was funny. And I'm trying to think. I'm supposed to think now about what was funny. I can't think of a funny thing.
I can...
It's terrible to dissect humor.
I know, we won't.
You know?
I won't have you dissect anything.
No, you're fine, Ben.
This is like a biographical thing about what happened to... Well, what happens in your life, you got to skip along and get to the good parts.
Right.
And
this is the good part. I'm so glad this is the good part. I hated the other part. I did.
At the time you hated it?
Oh, God, yes.
Now, I know that...
Screaming, scrambling, trying to get rich and famous. And
I wanted to get to the point where we were very down and out, and as they say. So my mother and my Tante Chayla...
Oh, you're talking about your personal family growing up.
Well, what else is there?
What are we, chopped liver? You got a family.
No, I want to identify with everybody. Everybody has a story, okay? So anyway, we were really like...
I knew Tante Chayla. I knew her well enough to pronounce her name.
So my Tante Chayla and my mother took an Irish sweepstake ticket, believe it or not, and they won the Irish sweepstakes. Now, it wasn't like a big ticket. This was a ticket where the winner of this ticket was able to go take the horse out of the paddock and get to the starting gate. That was about it was. But with the money, my Tante Chayla bought a house in Canarsie, and my father was able to buy a job as a bus driver on the Lower East Side of New York. Okay? So that was the beginning of my, in a way, of my career as an actor.
That's how you got a job then. The same thing's going on, graft, right?
Whatever's happened at that time is what's happening again today with the, you can't collective bargaining. I mean, who wants to live in Wisconsin right now? That'd be the worst place, right? So anyway, we moved down to Lower East Side. I'm about 12 years old, and it's all a new neighborhood. We've already moved a lot. And there on the Lower East Side was the Henry Street Playhouse. And at the Henry Street Playhouse were people who came in from Wisconsin and from New England. They were all part of the Federal Theater who came down and did living newspapers.
I even heard about the Henry Street Playhouse.
So I come down, and I'm this 12-year-old looking at the Lower East Side. It's a tough neighborhood. It's different than the East New York where we live. And one day I wander into the Henry Street Playhouse because there's music playing. and it's night and day. And I walk in, and on the stage there's a man playing the piano, blue light. And when it's finished, I said to the man, went up to him, I said, I want to be an actor. And you know, you ask the question sometimes, where did you get the first, where do you get laughs? Where you laugh? So he said, go upstairs, see Mrs. Lane. And Mrs. Lane had come down from Maine someplace and was doing these living newspapers. And I walk into her office and I said, yes. I said, I'd like to be an actor. And she said, you came at the right time because we're doing a play tonight. We're doing Many Moons, James Thurber, and you can play the Emperor. I said, so what do I have to do? She says, well, you just have to come out and pull the bell cord. Well, that night I arrived, they gave me a costume, they gave me a cue, I came out, I pulled the bell cord and it fell on the floor. And that was the beginning. I said, what is going on here? People are laughing. I had attention for something. Now, if I may go on for one more little moment.
Sure.
Yes, you may.
I'll try not to.
He's only asking me because they're there. Watching. What is she going to do? Is she going to put him down? What?
No, well, you know, you were part of all this thing, you know.
I like to think so.
I wouldn't be here tonight. No. So there was a school up the street called the Seward Park High School. Now, are you from the Lower East Side, from Brooklyn?
Someone's clapping for Seward Park.
Seward Park High School. You know, this was not the. This was a school where you didn't have
You're sucking up to the audience like a Tea Party person.
So anyway, Seward Park was up the street, and I had to go to Seward Park High School. And I walk into the school, and now I was with Henry Street a little bit, doing little shows there and everything. And I walk into the English class, and Mrs. Hopper looks at me, and she says, "Oh my God!" She says, "You're just right. We're doing a play, Gerald, and you can play the lead. It's a great part, the role of a lifetime. You're going to love it." I said, "What is the part?" "You play Adolf Hitler in Hitler Goes to Heaven."
That is a good role.
Yeah, role of a lifetime. Anyway, I don't know from Adam. Anyway, and the war was on, and they were selling war stamps, and they were saving fat, and they were doing all these things that would try to, you know, to survive. So anyway, I go out and I do this play, and oh my God, it gets such a response. I'm going crazy. I don't know what's happening to me in my life. And now I go into another little story. Being a kid, young, I fell in love. I fell in love with this girl in the English class.
Not me.
No, this was somebody else.
Some hooker.
Well, she was anyway, but anyway.
Cheap jokes.
Anyway, so her name was Annie Goldhaber. Okay, it's important. She was a sweet little girl. She looked like something out of Tom Sawyer. She had a little, her hair was kind of knotted in the back, and she wore a midi dress. And I don't know, I went up to her and I said one day, you know, Annie, can I take your books home? Can I carry your books home? She says, sure, Jerry. So I started walking down Grand Street past the Henry Street Playhouse, where I was working like crazy, you know. And as we passed by, I said, you know, Annie, someday I'm going to be an actor. Well, that was the last time I saw Annie Goldhaber. Except that a couple of years ago, I was at a fundraiser when Elliot Spitzer was running for governor, and he asked me to come down there and be part of the dressing and everything else. And out of nowhere, Elliot Spitzer comes over to me and says, Jerry, did you know you carried my mother's books home from school? I said, your mother was Annie Goldhaber? He said, yeah. And we had a joke in the family. If you married my mother, I could have played Gaylord Farquhar in Meet the Parents.
When Jerry was in the Playhouse at that time, were you already performing? Were you at the